In yet another privatisation success story, in another captive market in terms of the water industry. This is quite the title for an article. You might die before a leak is fixed. Southern Water tells Widow 88. Stagnant water and lavatory paper from drains pollutes flower beds planted by late husband. I cannot believe the unregulated water market would behave like this. The free market was supposed to deliver us prosperity, guys. What's happening? What's gone wrong? You told us to vote for this Telegraph. Come on. Jesus, look at this. Look at this! Daphne Hayward's garden flooded with slurry. Southern Water told an 88-year-old widow that it could take so long to fix a sewage leak affecting her garden, she might die with the problem, her son claimed, which is absolutely crazy. You know, at least now the water in our country accurately represents our political class. Just a river filled with shit. Daphne Hayward loved spending time in her garden, which was planted by her late husband, Stan. But at the end of last year, the pensioner noticed stagnant water and lavatory paper rising from the drains, which made a mess of her flower beds and caused plants and furniture to lift. Southern Water have been able to fix the problem, and Mrs. Hayward had been reduced to tears, calling them about it, claiming one engineer suggested she may die before it's sorted out. It's almost like, chat, it's almost. When you have a captive market, and in a privatised market, you have a captive market, there's no competition in water delivery, and the state refuses to hold you to account, like, I don't know, nationalising you or sending your executives to prison. There is indeed no incentive for you to fix a customer who has no choice but where else they can go. If there's no one competing with you for this customer's business, for a natural monopoly which you have no choice but to consume, like water, you can't just not drink water, you have to have access to water, and Southern Water have monopoly control in that area. You have no incentive to fix this problem, because they will still have to pay you for the water. You can take all of that money and give it to shareholders in profits. Why would you invest in fixing these issues when you're not going to lose any amount of customer base for not doing so? This is why you don't privatise natural monopolies, chat. The great-grandmother from Lymington in Hampshire would get upset every time it rained and now has to move out of her home at the sight of the garden has become unbearable. Mrs. Hayward moved into a home with her council worker husband and their 3 children in 1964. Only son Nick said the family first noticed the sewage problem at the end of last year. The 63-year-old said in February it happened just over 5 times and we had 2 weeks before Christmas. It just goes and comes back again. The beds are a mess, the plants are all lifted and the furniture is all moved. There is a white haze across the whole garden. It looks like a milky white solution and there's toilet paper everywhere. It just looks like a slurry all over the garden. This is Tory Britain, by the way, chat. This is Tory Britain. Shit in your rivers, a shit paycheck, a shit government for a shit country. All covered in shit. The English media allowed this to happen. If they had questioned and made the politicians accountable at the start, this wouldn't have happened. Well, exactly. But also just our political class are to blame because the political class all convened around Thatcherism as a political ideology, which is how the water boards got privatised in the first place. Margaret Thatcher ensured that they had to get privatised by forbidding them to take on capital investment to be able to engage in renovations of their water delivery, deliberately so they would fall foul of EU regulations on water quality and then would have to be privatised under those regulations. It was a very deliberate ploy to sell off the water industry to her mates, who are now making a killing. And our bills are going to have to go up 70% to fix this shit as well. Not just fixing this shit in the colloquial sense, fix this literal, actual shit. Great, love it. Mr. Hayward, a gardener, said the outdoor area had never flooded before last year and this is a problem that is affecting other houses in the area. Of course, not only does this get worse because of the private sector's lack of investment because they have no incentive to do so, but on top of that, we're also getting much more frequent flooding because of our lack of effort to deal with climate change and to invest in flood defences and to properly prepare our communities for rising floodwaters. Again, because why would the private sector invest when they have a natural monopoly? You'd think the opposition party would want to fix this by, I don't know, renationalising our water sector. But of course Labour doesn't want to do that because Will Hutton from The Observer was having secret letters exchanging with the head of water companies like Severn Trent, wanting to ensure that they could avoid nationalisation by creating public service companies. Still privately owned though, of course. Brilliant. Love the choice we have in our elections. You know, people deride Russia for having sham elections where you don't get a real choice, whereas proper democracies allow you to vote for the same thing in different colour rosettes. Mr. Hayward also asked workmen at the water company who were clearing the garden what was causing it. He said, I asked them what the problem was and they said the pump was not big enough to pump all that's gone through it. So essentially, they need to invest in extra capacity for a better standard of infrastructure. But again, they have no incentive to do so. Despite this, he said Southern Water is now insisting the problem has been caused by blockages. Again, just shifting it onto the consumer instead of into the infrastructure spending. And a conversation with someone at Southern Water brought her to tears. So this is the country. This is what the country looks like nowadays. Mrs. Hayward has had to stay with her daughter. He said her mum asked the engineer, am I going to die with this problem? And he said, yeah, maybe. Mum can't live in sewage. Every time she sees a bit of rain, she gets upset. She spent years out there when Dad was alive. It was lovely. Mum's okay. She's just fed up with it all. I have seen her in tears, which I've never seen. It's really sad. Mrs. Hayward couldn't bear the sight of her ruined garden anymore, so has to go and stay with the daughter on the Isle of Wight. Her son is hoping to clear up the garden so she can return. Southern Water has been approached for comment. So if there's a moral to this story, chat, if there's a moral to all of this story that we've seen here today, it's that you cannot trust corporations to do the right thing. This is how capitalism works. Private corporations have one job and one job only, and that is to drive profit for shareholders. That is their only job for society. Anything outside of that is not within their remit. Fixing your garden, stopping pollution, stopping sewage, stopping climate breakdown, stopping their failure to deliver a cheap and affordable service is nowhere in their remit. If they can charge you more in their natural monopoly, they will do it, and they will give that money to shareholders. Under the market mechanism, they have no duty to any kind of social utility whatsoever. None at all. And when there's no competition to provide a better service, all they will do is take their money and give it to their paymasters. That's it. This is neoliberalism writ large. If you want something different, you've got to vote for it. You've got to vote for nationalisation of our water industry. You know which party offers water industry getting nationalised? It's the Green Party, of course. So you should vote for them rather than the red or blue neoliberal groupthink you get from the Labour Party. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership. It's just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.